Apo, nimm mal an, nimm mal an, nimm mal an. Schnell, schnell, nimm an. Nimm an. Nimm an. Live-Event. Komm, wir schauen uns jetzt das Live-Event an. Ja, hallo? 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 Ja. Live-Event. Hä? Hallo? Das Ding ist, man hört... Thinking the badge is better than having some heart. Okay, look now, look how they running. They beating white people down just to show us what's coming, or to show us we nothing, or to show us we only welcome when singing or balling. You shut up and dribble.
Hey everybody, I'm Carrie Champion. Welcome to We the People. So today we are having a very candid conversation with athletes and artists who want to make sure that you use your voice to vote. Voting is your voice. So we have so many different issues that have happened in this country. It's really, truly unprecedented time. So I'm looking forward to these conversations. I think you'll be educated as well as entertained, but most importantly informed. We have morethanavote.org, whenweallvote.org, and fairfight.com. Those resources are imperative as we try to change our future.
Yeah, la.
There's no way that we can talk about hip hop or even the fact that we want to talk about activism, black voter suppression, without bringing in this guy straight from Port Arthur, Texas. We are talking about Bun B. He is an activist, a scholar, and an all-around gentleman. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Bun, I don't want to start heavy, but I guess I have to because that's where we are in the world today. It's heavy as hell. And when you think about what needs to happen in this country in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think of?
Equality. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals in this world. You know, we had to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country and not 3/5.
The world is now seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community. The one way that we can fight is obviously voting. Talk to me about what voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talking about one vote doesn't matter and that voting doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote. And not just on the level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every 4 years. People need to be very much involved in their local politics. They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that you support the ones that care about you and your condition, or to elect people who do. A new initiative that we're dealing with is educating felons, right? So in the state of Texas, if you're a felon, right, if you've been to jail or to prison, but you're no longer on probation or parole, you have the right to register to vote. Another thing that was just brought to my attention is an initiative called Orange, which is happening not just in Houston, but all over the country. If you're in jail currently, during pretrial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to send today about how important voting is, what type of images would you like our people to understand and see when they go to these polls and vote or when they cast their ballots?
I think the images that we've all seen, you know what I'm saying, for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country, we've seen black people oppressed, we've seen black people attacked. So every time you look back and you see those old black and white images of people, then they were just fighting for a chance to vote. People like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X, these people died to help us be in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have controls over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote. Look at a person like George Floyd. If the judicial equality and racial equality, right? If they're scared to say Black Lives Matter, you have the power to put people in those positions who do believe that Black Lives Matter, who do believe in racial equality, economic equality, judicial equality.
Hallo? Ja.
That's how we use our voice. I think of where we are right now. People say this is a particular moment, but it is a movement. Not just a moment, it is a movement. Why, in your opinion, was it George Floyd's death? Why was that the chosen brutality for people to say, oh my God, Black people are still
between people of color and the
Ich finde Freunde beim Live-Event.
What happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it
Nein.
tends to lean towards the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly what happened.
Ich guck von hier.
Is due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically, during this time period in relation to the coronavirus. You couldn't avoid it, right? It was on every television station. It was on every social media platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message. You see in the interaction that this man did nothing to deserve what happened.
That's right. And I think so well said, because if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't worth it, and he didn't have to lose his life. I think that you touched on something that a lot of people talk about, and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge conversation, but there's so many misconceptions around funding and dismantling. If you will, educate the audience.
All right, so most people, when they hear the term defund the police, they tend to think of, oh, they're going to take away our police department. Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that
Nicht Tim. Finn mit F.
Right? So why
F-Y-N-N.
to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situation
Timmy, ich nenne mich einfach Timmy.
With a higher crime
Nenn mich einfach Katzel. Nenn mich einfach TZL oder Katzel.
Katze.
Katze.
Employment opportunities. Right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. When the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for
ich hab einen Zuschauer. Jungs, ich bin gerade live, ne? Nur damit ihr es wisst.
They tend to have a lower crime rate, and because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
You are passionate about so many sure that we are holding our leaders accountable. Talk to me about some of the other projects.
Ja, ich bin kein YouTuber, ich mache nur einfach so Stream. Manchmal. Ich habe nicht viele Abonnenten. Nein, einfach YouTube.
Ich habe ein Scammer.
Guck mal. Ey, alle, die hier in der Party sind, die kommen jetzt hier hoch.
Ja, ich bin gut.
Also, ihr vier, nee. Hä?
Nein, der Renegade ist nicht, der Renegade ist nicht.
Okay, ihr drei nur?
I do. There's a number of places they can go.
Yeah.
Even a step further, they can run for office in their local community. They can run for positions. Like, people act like they leave it up to somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard.
Ich hab 120 oder so. Oder nee, 300 irgendwas. 300.
Fulton, right? She felt that.
Wer hat 1000? Du?
Ich ändere kurz mein Skin, warte. Ich ändere kurz mein Skin zu meinem Lieblings.
Our own former president, 44, Barack Obama,
right? Started in the community as an activist, ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, and became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need
Ich gehe mein
a
Skin
lot of
ändern.
money.
Ich gehe
You
mein
don't
Skin
need a lot of
ändern.
power.
Elite hat sein Skin geändert. Es ist Skin
Nein,
ändern.
es gibt keinen Account, sorry.
Ich bin auch reingegangen.
Mach ich
Ich glaube,
nicht.
mein Lieblings. Da ist mein Liebling. Wo ist Elite? Elite, Steffen!
Meine aber nicht.
Wo bist du? Haha, Elite. Das warst du, glaube ich. Gesundheit. Elite ist weg! Elite!
Children and grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, you know, and that's really what matters, you know. The change starts at home, you know, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you. That
soll ich wieder Grün nehmen oder Aura? Geh schnell. Ich schnell, Katze. Ich schnell, dass er dich nicht bemerkt. Ne?
Keep up the good fight.
Hey, wo ist denn Aura? Hä?
Yeah, so our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but
hey,
there are so many different people that we could talk to, and I thought it was so imperative that we speak with her. You know her as
Nein, ich meine nicht der Dingskin. Schau da, hat sich in Dingskin verkleidet.
She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian roots. She's a
Mann, jetzt ändert doch nicht Skin!
Right now.
Mann, nur weil er so welche OG-Skins hat, Digga. Saturn muss ändern. Warte.
Das ist Graumütze. Das ist nicht Blaumütze.
Efendim?
Ist jetzt vorbei?
Ah,
global timeout. Like we just, you know,
oh yeah,
America
bitch,
has
that's
done
my
that
cock.
Keep party
because everyone else is out playing at recess, and we looking at we can come out. But I think that if we settle into the timeout and really learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this season, I think we'll emerge better. We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one. And so.
Kein Plan. Hier, den habe ich seit der Season 4. Nö, an sich, nein, nicht so. Ja, ein Freund lädt mich gerade Party ein, aber er zockt eh nur GTA.
Ciao. Hello?
Let us unearth and shake up the things that
yeah, man, shake up, yeah, oh, yeah, shake up, yeah. Shake, oh yeah.
Right
shake, yeah, get into it. Shake.
All eyes on us, right? There is no, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that thing that happened. No, everybody was home. Everybody, was watching when George Floyd died. And everybody, no one could hide it. Everyone was watching when Amy Cooper called the cops. Like, this is a time where it's like, oh, we can't pretend.
Die Linke schon ballern.
We can't excuse it away. No. It's a global time. Going business no more. Like. And so right now we're sitting with the we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
the minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that to me explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at, and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper. Everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd.
Ich tick nach. Das ist scheiße an. The joueur de foot is the plot.
That's brand white on white balance. Like, I watch Investigation Discovery. Ain't too many of us being featured. So, I just even like, but to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open, right? In that, okay, you had everyone from Trayvon Martin to Castillo to Sandra Bland. You had all of these lives lost.
Was ist Yasin? Er lädt mich ja wieder ein. Was? $500er Ping? Okay.
Like, America is realizing, like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like, the protests are still out. The conversations are still being had. The change is still being demanded.
To explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful, people. And to that end, I have to ask you this, because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is our vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand.
It can be of the rules. It can be of system. I think we are done a disservice, either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason we do not, and give them all the raises. I know too many parents who are like, I might, this child of mine, I do love them, but where can I drop them off? And I do think that there is a disservice done, because again, when we talk about voting, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the president. We don't realize, like, oh snap, we actually can vote about like how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
It's the systems. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up, and we've normalized. Okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe you'll be able to get this luxury, It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote. Think about everything disenfranchised, marginalized Black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to, there's so many factors along the way that can send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of color. If you're just trying to get to vote and you already have to go through all of these hurdles and hoops in your everyday life, imagine the one day where your voice really is supposed to matter the most in this country. But then you also see all the times that you tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been shut down, repressed, told it doesn't matter, and then you're kind of like, what's the point?
How do we keep hope though? If I'm watching this right now, how do we as a people stay hopeful? How do we believe in the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met Black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like you know what I'm saying? Like by like if we hadn't been broken now,
Gesundheit.
be it through slavery, through
Give
capitalism,
it to me.
through
Give it to me.
colonization, through segregation, through I mean, the history of Black people in this country is at one point we were 3/5 people. That's it.
At one
That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are Black girl magic. We are Black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient. But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that like we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag Harlem shaking it right now. Can't stop, won't stop. And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving and we won't stop thriving.
To that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who's appeared on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is speaking out against things that we feel are not right or unjust. But talk to me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Orji.
Listen, activism, I think the beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like, you know what? Martin Luther King marched, but there were a lot of women who were in the homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play. And so play your position like a shortstop, bro. So whoever you are and whatever you do, play your position. So activists could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line, but you know what? My pockets go deep, so I'm gonna support the people on the front line. I'm a comedian. Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you